I hereby call the August 4th, 2025 Planning Commission meeting to order at 6 p.m. Madam Clerk, will you please do the roll call?
Commissioner Glenn?
Here.
Commissioner Allen let me know he would not be able to make it today. Commissioner Carpenter?
Here.
Commissioner Collins?
Here.
Commissioner McCabe?
Here.
And Commissioner Scoggin.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Thank you. Are there any additions or changes to the agenda? I hear none. Any objections to approving the agenda as written? None. Hearing and seeing none, the agenda is approved. Would Commissioner McCabe please lead us in the pledge?
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Minutes, regular meeting minutes, July 21st, 2025.
Reading the consent agenda, so you'll say item number 4, consent agenda, and then you read everything that is.
So, help me here, right? So,
You'll say we're on item number 4.
yep, we're on item number 4,
Consent agenda.
consent agenda, and
We have minutes.
minutes and regular meeting minutes, July 21st, 2025.
And then
Introduction for public hearing quasi-judicial matters, there are none. Introduction for public hearing legislative matters, resolution 25-14. A resolution of the Matanuska-Susitna Borough Planning Commission recommending approval of an ordinance amending MSB 17.23 Port McKenzie Special Use District to repeal MSB 17.23.150, development permit required and associated standards, public hearing August 18th, 2025. Staff is Alex Strawn, Planning and Land Use Director. Are there any objections to approving the consent agenda as written? Hearing and seeing none, the consent agenda is approved. Committee reports, we have none. Agency staff reports, none. Land use classifications, none. And then we're to audience participation. If there's anyone on the phone who would like to speak about anything not on the agenda for a public hearing, please press star 3. No one? Are there persons in the audience who would like to speak? Oh, you got one? Okay. Go ahead, please.
Hi there. Yeah, I was just curious if there's a way I could get a transcription of tonight's meeting, or at least just get some sort of notes of tonight's meeting.
Wade Long through the chair. This is a recorded meeting, so you should be able to see the recording online.
Okay. Is there a website I can achieve that at?
matsugov.us.
right now.
Okay, perfect.
Oh,
Thank you.
it's also live
That's-
on YouTube right now under Matsu.
Yeah,
Borough.
yeah.
Okay.
I'm just with the Young Republicans, and we like to stay up to date with everything. I couldn't make it to the meeting, so I just wanted to be able to give the best notes I could to my colleagues.
Perfect. We appreciate your involvement.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Are there any persons in the audience who would like to speak? Seeing and hearing there are no other persons to be heard, is there any objection to closing audience participation? You got one more on there now. All right, we got one more online. Go ahead, please.
Hi, my name is Esther Huddleston, and I'm speaking in regards to the water setback ordinance.
No, you can't.
The resolution.
Esther, thank you. You need to call in during the the hearing on that. You jumped the gun here. This is just
Oh,
on.
I'm
not this-
sorry.
All right, call back. Thank you. Appreciate you.
Okay.
All right.
Okay, bye.
Anybody else? No one else online? And we have one person. Sure, sir. Can turn the mic on and give us your name, please? And spell it.
My name is David Palmer, and the comment I have is reference to the proposed Cache Creek subdivision rules. Now, the history of Cache Creek subdivision is 2,400 patented mining acres. They belong to a guy named Phil Brandel who passed away about 10 years ago. Now, I have 5 mining claims that are adjacent to quite a few of those parcels. And I believe that I would request that the borough put a comment into the Cache Creek rule asking people who have interest in mining to contact DNR and follow the state rules for mining. Because I have had these claims since 1984. I will not give them up. And I have 3 permits, one for dredging. So, you know, I'm familiar with the setback rules. So, and the setback rules don't want you to put a dredge in the middle of the creek, but I have a permit for that. I have a permit for, I'm going to say, unused material to put it back in the water. And so my concern is that the legislation that you folks are working on, it's fine for the subdivision parcels, but I would like to see some kind of a note in it so that I don't have to fight with everybody who has property there. I will not mess with their property. I do not want them to mess with my mining claims. So I'll be happy to meet with Alex or someone else on the planning commission to maybe go over some potential language to use. And I'll be happy to bring in the regulations, the state regulations, if you would like me to do that. So anyway, any immediate questions?
Thank you very much. Could you please sign in? You should have a sign-in form in front of you.
Yeah, I did sign in out there, but I'll
did
do
you?
it here too.
I'm sorry, did we got you already? We got him? We got you already. Sorry we got it. Thank you. So this is the next person. This is for the next meeting. Okay. Thank you, sir. Appreciate it. Is there anybody else who would like to speak? Hearing and seeing none. With no objection, audience participation is closed. Public hearing on legislative matters, Resolution 25-10. A resolution of the Matanuska-Susitna Borough Planning Commission recommending approval of an ordinance amending MSB 17.02 mandatory land use permits, MSB 17.55 setback and screening easements, MSB 17.65 variances, and MSB 17.125 definitions. Staff is Alex Strawn, Planning and Land Use Director. Mr. Strawn, please provide your staff report.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, members of the Planning Commission. Once again, my name is Alex Strawn. I'm the Planning Director for the Matsu Borough. I've been with the borough for a long time, and I've got to do a lot of very interesting projects in my nearly 20 years here at the borough. And this water body setback one is right up there at the top as far as interest level. I think it was a very fascinating project. And this all started back in 1973 when the Borough Assembly originally adopted a 75-foot water body setback ordinance. It was sort of tucked away in our plating code. I don't know if it was very well advertised. Regardless, it was not very well enforced. And I think they recognized that. And so in 1986, the Borough Assembly dropped it down to 45 feet for a water body setback. Shortly thereafter, there was an initiative to put the question on the ballot, and in May of 1987, the voters approved bring the water body setback back to 75 feet, sort of overwhelmingly approved that. And so you sort of, so because of that sort of schism where there's a 6-month time when it was 45 feet, we have a somewhat complex, I guess people can apply for grandfather rights, and depending on how far away from the water you were built and what year you were built, we will process those and look at all the evidence and determine what type of grandfather rights you're eligible for, if any. Again, even after 1987, I think it's safe to say that the water body setbacks weren't all that well enforced. And we did there was some interest in this a few years ago by the Assembly, and they had us do a GIS analysis of water body setbacks within the borough. And based on the information that we have, so we use LiDAR data, which tells you where water bodies are to a pretty high degree of accuracy. And then with that LiDAR data, we also have building footprint layer, which tells you where buildings are with a pretty high degree of accuracy. And then through our assessments data, we have a year built layer. And we took all of that combination of those and found that on lakes alone, we have around 750 water body setbacks that are likely in the borough. And that's in the area that we have LiDAR imagery, and does not include flowing bodies of water like rivers and creeks. So safe to say there's a lot of code violations out there. And so we had an Assembly member that wanted to do something about it. Originally, it was Assembly Member 2 who had staff draft an ordinance that would remove the water body setback altogether. And in his words, he wanted people to be able to hang a lure out of their bedroom window and catch fish. That got pulled pretty early because there was a lot of resistance. And then Assembly Member Yunt at the time said, let's take a more measured approach, and so I created an ordinance for him that would allow people to go closer than 75 feet, up to 25 feet actually, if they were to hire an engineer and essentially deal with the stormwater associated with their development. Some of you were on the Planning Commission when that happened, I think. It went through the Planning Commission into the Assembly, and the Assembly, it was quite controversial. There was a lot of public input, a lot of involvement by the public on both sides of the issue, and the Assembly decided to form what's called the Water Body Setback Advisory Board. And this is a group of, it was a 9-person board. There were 2 engineers. There were people from real estate. There was a representative from the Matsu Salmon Habitat Partnership. There was a representative from the Fish and Wildlife Commission. We had a representative from the Planning Commission, which was the former chair. And then we had some at-large members. And this was a group that was picked by the mayor and approved by the Assembly with a rich and diverse backgrounds on the board. The first several meetings, I would say, was really educational. We went over borough code compliance. We went over all the different sections of code that could possibly be affected by a water body setback, an amendment to the water body setback ordinance. We went over the mandatory land use permit. We reviewed the 1998 analysis of water body setbacks, which is still sort of relevant to this day. We had a member from the financial institutions, from residential lending come speak with us. We had somebody from the DEC come speak with us. We had a engineer who specialized in stormwater runoff come speak with us and water quality. So the first several meetings were really, really educational for not only the board, but myself. Once they had all that background information, we essentially started with an ordinance that was similar to what Assemblymember Yunt had written up, which was a fairly simple ordinance saying you can go up to 45 feet if you hire an engineer to take care of your stormwater. That's where we started. The group used Robert's Rules of Order and sort of made many amendments over about, I think, 23 meetings, each meeting lasting 2 to 3 hours. So it was quite the effort, and I will say they left no stone unturned. I will also say that I was, in charge of putting this group together and facilitating all the information and the minutes, and Lacey was there with me the whole entire way. I was not a voting member, so if you absolutely love this ordinance, please do not give me credit. And if you do not like it, I would ask you to do the same. This was the product of this working group that was formed. So in the end, in this, they adopted a resolution, and attached to that resolution was a draft ordinance that they recommend be adopted. And I'll go into what is in the draft ordinance and what's in the resolution, and I'm sure there's probably going to be questions, and I'm hoping that you guys have read these documents and are going to have your own opinions that can be reflected in a resolution. So first thing is, it does allow homes that are either currently or being proposed to be built within 75 feet. It allows homes to go closer than 75 feet, up to 45 feet, if they hire an engineer and they do several things. One of which is to handle stormwater associated with their development. And it's not 100% of stormwater, because you can have really big rainfalls and it would not be practical to contain all that water on your site. The language actually follows existing language that is in the subdivision construction manual, and that's been kind of pulled over and fit into this ordinance. It does require a permit for any heavy machinery that is done within 75 feet of a water body. So if you bring in a dozer or an excavator to closer than 75 feet of a water body on your lakefront property, then that does require a permit, and essentially they have to cease, not continue, and let the borough essentially know what they're going to do. And if they're building a structure within 75 feet of water body, then they have to do these certain standards that include like a no greater than 20% impervious surface within 75 feet. They have to retain some of the natural vegetation along the shoreline, and capture some of that stormwater associated with that development. Another big thing that this does is, right now our 75-foot water body setback only applies to habitable structures, and this would expand that to apply to commercial and industrial structures as well. Let's see. It does have new sort of law of the land type rules. You can't have paved parking areas within 25 feet of a water body. And for any paved parking areas, like say for a commercial business that is within 75 feet, essentially has to, the stormwater associated with that has to be accumulated and treated as part of the design. There's no storage of liquid hazardous substances within 25 feet. That would be prohibited under this ordinance. It would have limitations on the amount of vegetation you can remove along the first 25 feet. And then application of fertilizers and herbicides would be prohibited within 25 feet. And then the stockpiling of imported snow would also be prohibited within the first 25 feet. Another big one would be petroleum storage facilities. So like your home heating fuel could not be within 75 feet of a water body. The borough does not currently have any restrictions on that. This would require that they go back 75 feet. Anybody who has fuel storage within 75 feet would have 5 years to come into compliance. And so they would either need to move it back 75 feet or they would need to essentially retrofit it to have like a double walled tank with drip protection from spillage. As part of the resolution that they adopted, they recommended enhanced enforcement. One of the take-home messages that I think that they got was that the easiest and most effective time to do enforcement of water body setbacks is early on in the process. And so if somebody has prepped the site or even poured footings and you catch them in the act, there's a remedy to that. They can tear that up and move it at not too much of an expense. But once a home is built, the remedy is very difficult and very costly. And so they recommend sort of water body patrol, that we have staff that does an early detection of any sort of development along water bodies and say, hey, you have to get a permit if you're going to do this. And then they also, they recommended that variances not be allowed at all within 45 feet of a water body. So that would mean there's probably not too many out there, but there would be some pieces of land that are probably small, skinny, sandwiched between a right-of-way and a lake that would be unbuildable for any sort of residential or commercial construction. And then, so that was a recommendation. And then lastly, they did recommend that the Assembly explore a habitat protection tax incentive, which would be essentially people could spend money to make modifications to their waterfront to improve habitat or capture storm water runoff. And then over the next 3 years, they'd be able to recoup some of that through tax break, essentially. They didn't go too far into the weeds on that one. They just said, hey, we recommend you explore this idea. There is a provision in state law that allows that, and my understanding is that the Kenai Peninsula Borough does have a similar type provision. This went through, so I guess we took this ordinance to several different boards and many different planning commission or community councils, and did sort of a roadshow and answered a lot of questions and gave a presentation on this. And several of the recommendations from those boards or community councils are within your packet. And I guess if you have any questions on those or anything within the ordinance, I'd be happy to answer that at this time.
Commissioners, do you have any questions for Mr. Strawn?
I have one. Commissioner McCabe, you mentioned enforcement or enhanced enforcement. What kind of a price tag are we envisioning for enforcing these new rules? Are they to be implemented?
So through the chair, so they did not, they talked about listing specific numbers of officers or field inspectors or whatever, but they didn't want to go that far. They just said we want enhanced enforcement and didn't dive into what that looks like and how many officers or new employees that would be.
Anybody else? Commissioner Scoggins?
How do you obtain the grandfather rights? I get that question asked a lot from people. Because I mean, honestly, it's like, it's pretty vague in there from 73 to 87, this kind of Wild West. I feel like in that zone, it's pretty hard to,
Yeah.
it wasn't well known, right? Even though it wasn't. And then, anyway, that's one question. The other one, what about waterway erosion? I was thinking about rivers here too. Like a lot of these homes in the Butte and up by Sutton were 100 plus feet. Now they're not. So how would they fall in there? That's just
Yeah, so these are great questions. Yeah, so I think I want to say it's a $150 fee to get grandfather rights. So first of all, if you were built legally at the time you constructed it, you essentially have grandfather rights. But if you want a piece of paper that says that you have it, then that's where we charge a fee. We look at assessments records, we look at imagery, and we will issue that determination of pre-existing legal non-conforming status based on where you're built and when you were built. But you're right that when you build, sometimes a lake will rise or a river will meander. That's why I think it's, if you're going to get a loan, then you're probably going to have an as-built, and those as-builts really come in handy. If you were built legally at the time and then the river moved, then you are eligible for a pre-existing legal non-conforming status.
when you say, I guess so where they go to the planning department for the grandfather?
Yes, planning, just to the permit center.
I get this all the time. Everybody says, I'm grandfather. I go, well, what does that exactly mean? Do you have anything that says that? And no is always the answer. So
Yeah, so we do have a formal process for that. It's within 17.80 of Borough Code.
Yep.
And we have current planners that will handle that right at the permit center. Yep.
So, Mr. Strawn, so let's say the drop dead date would be the date that the assembly approves this. So you could be grandfathered until 2 weeks from now, correct? And then from that day forward, you have to comply with the new regulations.
So if you're grandfathered right now, you would maintain those grandfather rights. Right. Same with if you have a variance, that variance would still be valid. Right now, the law of the land is 75 feet. If this gets adopted as is, then there would be an opportunity to go up to 45 feet if you were to hire an engineer and go through some steps.
Thank you. Anybody else?
No, I just think like the grandfathering thing, that's an issue. Like everybody knows the Matanuska River. So if you're going to build on that river now, how do you get grandfathered? Who doesn't? Well, it hasn't moved this direction in 5 years. Well, okay, all the rain we got this year, it changed, didn't it? So, I mean, it's like, that's a known, but we're going to give them grandfather rights because they keep building on that river.
Well, that's a different story.
That's just but that's to me is a hard issue to sell. You know what I mean? Like I think I'm not the only person in the valley that would go, wow, you didn't know that river ate land, huh? That's odd.
Yeah, so the erosion issue is a whole different story. The great thing about the Matanuska River is we have imagery going back to 1949 in the Palmer area. So if somebody was built 200 feet away in 1960, we would actually have a photo of that house that we'd be able to measure the distance it was from the river at that time. The question of people building in erosion-prone areas is a whole different ball game there. Yeah.
Okay.
Chair, can I do a follow-up to that? So what about the lakes where the wakeboards are eroding the bank of the lake and taking footage away? How do you deal with that?
Yeah, so if somebody was built at a time, so say if they were built prior to 1987, hopefully they have an as-built that shows where the lake was at that time in relation to the house. If not, then we do have other methods such as imagery. We have all sorts of imagery from different years, like 1984 we did a big run of imagery that we can use if they don't have an as-built. Essentially, though, there has to be, in order for us to grant it, we have to have really pretty good evidence that they were built in compliance at the time.
And one more, just to be clear, does that grandfather right help with like banking for financing? Is that what the purpose of it is?
Yes. So yeah, often there are people who are eligible for grandfather rights. They don't get it for decades, and then they want to sell their house, and their underwriter tells them you have to go get a determination of pre-existing legal non-conforming status, which we do quite often, usually to satisfy a transfer of property.
I have one more question.
Go ahead.
So I was on the plating board, and we dealt with a small parcel of land that was, the new owners wanted to build on it, but they couldn't expand the area of the building because the property was too small. So what do we do when the 75-foot rules and all of this goes into place and we have people that lose so much value on their land? Do they get a tax break, or do they get their property bought from them by the borough? Because it's a huge loss to some people if we were to pass this.
So as it is right now, if somebody has a piece of property that they're not able to build on it because of our setback regulations, and other people in the surrounding area can build on it, they're like similarly situated, and it's what's called a commonly enjoyed use, then they would be eligible potentially for a variance that would be decided by this board. If this were to pass, then the need for variances would essentially go away, because between 0 and 45 feet, you can't get a variance, nor can you get a permit to go there. Between 45 and 75, you can hire an engineer and you can get a permit to build. And then anything beyond 75 feet, you'd be allowed to do essentially without permitting.
I'm just thinking of some of the smaller parcels.
Yeah, so that's common. That's often the case for variance when you have a small parcel, and it's often sandwiched between a lake and a right of way. It's very common on Big Lake, for instance, but there are other properties that, because of the unique characteristics of that particular property, they could be eligible for a variance.
Thank you. Oh, you got another one? Oh, here we go.
So how would you see, say like people pay boat launches and things? Is those things like, is that under the 5-year, got to remediate these things? And if so, do they need to get a permit? It's quite a process to, are we going to rehab the whole lake in front of a lot of people build up, they have rock walls, they have sand beaches. I can go on and on, but what are those guys going to do that?
Yeah, so if you have a lakefront property that you paved the entire thing, if this gets adopted, you'd be grandfathered. If you were to expand your pavement or do work, then the new rule would be 20% of that portion can't be, or only 20% can be impervious, 80% pervious. So you wouldn't be able to expand that pavement essentially. Yeah.
Go ahead.
How does this do with like what we call wetlands now? Because with all the water that we've had and the changing of waterways that have recently happened, that wetland now increases in size. Does this have the same help for those?
Yeah, so that's a fantastic question. And with the sort of the federal changes and what wetlands are, I think we do need, regardless of whether this passes or not, we probably need to look at our code. Right now, as it is, the 75-foot water body setback is to the ordinary high water mark of a water body. And wetlands, I think in most circumstances would be considered a water body. So the federal rules don't really change our definition, but it would be really nice if they sort of matched. But right now it's the ordinary high water mark, and it's really I think the line of demarcation or whatever is that the primary growing medium is aquatic in nature.
Okay.
So yeah,
I still have friends that call it a swamp or a bog, and
sure.
But there's a difference now because it can get you in trouble if you're not aware.
Right.
Just curious.
Yep.
I have another question.
Of course you do.
So the rule in the proposal about the 5 years that people with existing oil storage or fuel storage, if they aren't in compliance within the 5 years, what is the proposed penalty for non-compliance?
So that's a fantastic question as well, through the chair. I'll answer it. That would have to be established in the fine schedule. That is not part of this legislation. If this legislation were to pass, we'd probably have to come up with a follow-up ordinance to establish the fine schedule for the different rules that you can break. Right now, I think so we have a fine schedule. It's an exhaustive list of all the possible borough rules that you can break. But there's also provision that says that if it's not listed here, then I think it defaults to $500. So.
Anything else? You're thinking. Yeah. Commissioner Collins? Any questions?
No, through the chair. No, a lot of the questions that I had have been presented and addressed thus far. Thank you.
Thank you. No other questions? And thank you, Mr. Strawn. At this time, we will go ahead and open the public hearing. If there is anyone on the phone who would like to speak, please press *3. Go ahead, please. Name and can you spell it for us, please?
Yes, this is Esther Huddleston, Huddleston. I have issues with the water setback ordinance that it doesn't have special exceptions for people who own an entire island in a lake. And also, I feel like the board should have focused on permanent structures, but they went above and beyond and included temporary structures. Another problem I have with it that they go above and beyond state and federal regulations for people who have heating oil to heat their homes. Those people should be able to be grandfathered in. There are people who live off a lake and they have no access to natural gas. And sometimes the only way you can access for certain properties is by boat, or there's a trail and they have to take a four-wheeler, and there's no exceptions for those individuals. I believe that they should be grandfathered in. People who own animals should be grandfathered in because now they have to either move or get rid of their animals, and that's not right. And I just feel like they went too far, too restrictive. If you read the water setback ordinance and just visit any lake, you'll find so many violations. And I mean, they're telling you can't cut down a tree. They've gone way too far with this water setback. It's too restrictive. It's terrible that they went the direction that they went. They could have gotten a water setback ordinance if they focused on main structures of the home, but instead they added a whole bunch of other things that was unnecessary. And I hope you vote no on this setback ordinance resolution. Thank you.
Thank you, Esther. Anyone else? Name and spell it for us, please.
Good evening. My name's Jessica Speed, JESSICA-SPEED. I'm coordinator of the Matsu Basin Salmon Habitat Partnership, and thanks for the opportunity to speak. I'm here to offer information about the partnership in service of the Planning Commission's consideration of draft OR 25-073 regarding the water body setbacks. The partnership's a voluntary, non-regulatory coalition of over 65 diverse organizations, including the Matsu Borough, Alaska Department of Fish and Game, and many more. Partners share a vision for thriving salmon, healthy habitats, and vibrant communities. Guided by a strategic action plan, we've supported more than 100 salmon habitat projects in the Mat-Su, totaling over $4 million in direct funds, including another $15.5 million in other project contributions. Many of these projects protect and restore riparian areas, which are the vegetated zones along streams and lakes that stabilize banks, reduce erosion, filter pollutants, improve flood resiliency, and provide essential food, shelter, and cool water for salmon. In 2020, we produced a science summary for community leaders that compiles some best practices for riparian protection, and that's included in your meeting packet as an attachment in the partnership's letter. In particular, the current proposed ordinance language around maintaining vegetated riparian buffer areas, reducing impervious surfaces, and providing standards to reduce polluted runoff align with these practices and with our strategic plan goals. Freshwater habitat loss and fragmentation have been some of the primary drivers in the decline of anadromous fish. And based on lessons learned elsewhere, we know that maintaining healthy habitats is far more effective and cost-effective than trying to restore them once they're degraded. Salmon are central to the Mat-Su's economy, culture, and way of life, and we appreciate the borough's long-standing commitment to conserving these resources. We commend you for your thoughtful efforts to address identified issues with violations of the current water body setback code, while balancing water quality and other community assets and values. And that includes support for creation of the Water Body Setback Advisory Board, where the partnership was honored to serve in a designated technical seat held by Matthew LaCroix. So if we can provide additional expertise or resources going forward, please call upon us. Thank you for your time and consideration.
Thank you. Anyone else online? Name and spell it for us, please.
Hi, my name is Margaret Stern. That's Stern. I'm the Program and Communications Director for the Susitna River Coalition. The Susitna River Coalition is a grassroots organization representing over 14,000 individuals, businesses, and organizations all comprised of folks who live, work, and recreate within the Susitna River watershed. We are deeply committed to protecting the long-term health of the Susitna Basin salmon, water, and our communities. Our work is rooted in the understanding that intact ecosystems and clean water are really vital to the people, wildlife, and economies of the Mat-Su Borough. Today I'm calling in strong support of the proposed ordinance and the updates. The ordinance reflects work and recommendations of the Water Body Setback Board, and I attended every one of those meetings, and this group had a really hard task to achieve. I was so impressed at the conversations that went on and the education that each of the advisory board members tasked themselves with in order to come up with something that would support local communities, water quality, and habitat as the Mat-Su Borough continues to grow. Thank you so much for considering this ordinance. I think they did an incredible job. Again, the Susitna River Coalition is in strong support. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you. Anyone else online? No one's online. Audience. He spoke already. How about Rod Hansen?
Good evening. My name is Rod Hanson, Hanson, and I'm here speaking on behalf of the North Lakes Community Council. Our council has been involved from the early days of the Water Body Setback Advisory Board. We didn't attend all of the meetings, but I think we probably made it to about 80% of them. And our position is, I'm going to characterize it as broadly supportive of the ordinance and the need for code change. But not as written. We believe there definitely needs to be code changes. And we have some recommendations on changes to the ordinance that you might consider as you advance this to the assembly. The issue's been a problem for many years, lack of clarity on what the requirements were, the setbacks have not been applicable to commercial structures. The code is silent to that. This ordinance fixes that. There's been, as has been discussed, a lack of compliance, a lack of resolution for non-compliance, and the current code is really insufficient to provide that clarity going forward without some changes. The goal really needs to be, there should be public clarity. We should care about and protect our water bodies and fish in this area. And we should do what we can to protect property values and not be a burden on existing property owners. It's important to recognize the politics of this issue, the Assembly desire to, help those people that were non-compliant come into compliance. I mean, that's great, but the bottom line is, have rules for a reason. And the fact that people haven't followed them shouldn't be something we've put a lot of effort into trying to fix that for them. There should be a strong desire not to negatively impact property owners with expensive and unnecessary requirements. So specifically, we have some recommendations. We think you should advance this, but as a modified ordinance. We believe you could remove the requirement for a registered engineer or an engineering firm to approve the design of earthwork and drainage standards that are outlined. We think the standards are appropriate, but I think the better approach would be for the borough, for the people, right? Government is supposed to be for the people. The borough can hire and train an engineer so that that engineer can help property owners obtain their permits. That same engineer can be accountable for compliance and may have a small staff as necessary to meet that compliance requirement. So we don't think it's, and that's a huge expense to the homeowner. I don't think that needs to be in there. We should remove the requirement for, double wall or spill protection for tanks. I think that's been characterized as potentially a $50,000 burden for a homeowner. That's excessive. There are DEC requirements to meet. I don't think this ordinance needs to go that far. As you heard earlier, and I've heard from a couple people now, there's an issue around mining claims up north that are on borough property that used to be state property. The board, in all of their deliberations, never talked about mining. I think that mines should be allowed to operate in compliance with state requirements, not with these new ordinance requirements. So anyway, that's how we're seeing it. And unfortunately, I did not realize that I needed to get something in writing to you from the council for this meeting. We've gone on record multiple times in writing with letters and written testimony to various boards, to the Assembly. I'd be happy to assemble that. If this is something you end up deliberating over time, we could get you much more background on what we've said, but that's a summary of where we stand today. So thank you.
Thank you, Rod. Karen LaWalter, I believe it is.
My name is Carol LaWalter, K-A-R-E-L.
Can you pull that microphone down?
I'm sorry.
Thank you.
K-A-R-E-L-L-A-W-A-L-T-E-R. I've lived in the Mat-Su Borough for over 65 years. My family has 3 cabins on Lake Louise with 700 feet of shoreline. I believe in clean water conservation and keeping the Mat-Su Borough lakes and streams viable for current residents and future generations. I believe that this resolution is too restrictive to property owners on our water bodies. It discriminates against these landowners on how they use and enjoy their properties. I believe that this resolution, as is written, will prohibit me from being fire-wise in a timely fashion. I'd like to read section B on page 3 of 4. It says, prior to any clearing, filling, or grading in the 75-foot setback, the property owner will need to show how runoff will be directed and how any mitigation actions to be taken and prevent degradation of water quality and aquatic habitat. I believe that by having to wait for these permits and approvals to remove dead trees will put my buildings at risk during fire season. And I believe the that the borough currently does not have the staff nor the finances to enforce this resolution as it is written. We are being faced with this resolution because under the previous setback rules, there was no enforcement on homeowners or builders or financial institutions that participated in violation of these rules. I do not know the reason for that, but I believe that laws should not be on the books if they are not enforceable. Because of 700 violations, we are looking at a complete overreach of the borough affecting waterfront properties. I believe that the previous ordinance, with the addition of adding in commercial properties under this umbrella, would protect the waterways of the Matsu Borough if you only enforced it. Go back and enforce what's on the books. Do not make living on a piece of waterfront property egregious or onerous. Thank you.
Hello. Hi, I'm Jean Holt. I live on Finger Lake, and I have property on Lake Susitna, Lake Louise area. I went to our annual meeting yesterday, and it's good to see that we have somebody here that listened to what I handed out. I don't know where to start, but I've been involved in this, and I know you've heard it before, 39 years. But, and I've seen it go through a lot of stuff, and a lot of stuff is granting variances. The coup de grace was the last one you all did with Fernandez, because the applicant or client, as the planner said, inherited the property. Oh, wow, that's a hardship, man. So he got to build 25 feet where the original structure was, but double the size. These variances have been going on. I've been following them, and I do go around, and I remember being on the planning commissioner said, "Who are you, the variance queen or what?" It's gotten so out of hand. And now, and I blame half of it on the borough and half on the abuse that property owners have done. And I believe very intentionally. We have a dysfunctional Department of Planning, the Planning Commission, the planners, code compliance, and as Mr. Strong said, they're going to put in this packet a enforcer. Oh wow, 2 months we get to have an enforcer go all over these lakes and maybe see if somebody's in non-compliance. That's not right. The borough needs to put some meat into this. Also, I would like the new assistant attorney, I would like to know, Miss Attorney Nick Stephanopoulos, 2 weeks before the commission or the board had to come up with the resolution and ordinance, he said, "Oh no, you guys can't do that. You have to have equal protection." What is that all about? So you're dealing with the past, present, and future, and the borough for 53 years has not addressed this. All they had is one ordinance of 75 feet, and that's the only thing that's protected us all these years. And we had to fight hard in '86. So I hope that you don't end up stripping out Section 12 with the requirements, because that board didn't have much to go on. I mean, they had to dig out from everywhere to put everyone, hopefully, in compliance. So I really think I would like to know how they came up with that equal protection that the board was told. Where did that come from? So everybody
Your
would be
time's
equal.
up, Miss Holt.
Anyway, I'm hope that you don't just rid everything and just go for the setback of 75 to 45. You have a lot on your plate, and this, wow, we really got a lot of people here, don't we? So let's not just rush it out there and then make it that it's nothing important. It has to, the borough has to step up. Thank you.
Thank you. And anybody else in the audience? Tell us your name and spell it, please.
Okay. My name is Patty Fisher, Fisher, no C. I'm a resident of Meadow Lakes. My comment is very simple. Do not allow new construction to be built at less than 75 feet. I attended the Water Body Setback Board meetings and was very impressed with the work that they did. They originally said there will be no construction. They kept the 75-foot limit. Then I was shocked when the legal department came in at the very last minute and said that it was unfair to new construction to be not allowed to build at less than 75 feet. That is an illogical and I hate to say, but absurd analysis. For example, in the past, DDT, and I trust most of you know what DDT is, was allowed as an insecticide. Then it was found illegal. So with the people that didn't get to use DDT, are they going to be allowed now to use DDT because in the past it was legal? I don't think so. Times change, population changes, the environment changes. Our legal documents are living documents. We need to respect that and allow changes as appropriate. While I am strongly in favor of a means for those people that are in an illegal situation to be brought legal, I say in the future, do not allow buildings to be at less than 75 feet. Keep the 75 feet. It is nonsense to say that they would be illegally treated, unfairly treated. So, thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Fisher. Anybody else? Can you do your name and spell it for us,
hello,
please?
Stephen Edwards, Edwards. So I'm currently president of Meadow Lakes Community Council. I'm hoping you have our letter that we developed. That was a public meeting, and there's quite a number of residents from the area that live on lakes in Meadow Lakes participated in that meeting. And we worked hard and came up with a consensus letter. So hopefully you have that in our packet. But I wanted to go ahead and read it into the record from the Meadow Lakes Community Council.
Sure.
So it's references the ordinance number in the beginning, and then it says, "Dear Assembly and Planning Commission members, we would like to add the following comments to the discussion of water body setbacks after review of the current version of the ordinance. Members focused on the ordinance's potential impact to water body health, fairness to property owners, and neighborhood aesthetics. The top three key comments were, we support maintaining the existing 75-foot setback for all new habitable construction. We do not support a 45-foot setback for new habitable construction, regardless of any mitigation measures. But we do suggest using the mitigation requirements language as a guide for variance approval in two specific situations. Those existing parcels with illegal non-conforming structures that the current owner did not build, and existing parcels with otherwise unbuildable area, such as the small ones. Other comments included, we have continuing concerns about the effectiveness and capacity of enforcement. We don't see a new position proposed to process permit applications. There were concerns about excessive processing times, so please clarify the language regarding a timeline to process the permits. And we were asking you add a posting requirement for permits. Most members supported this, although some members were opposed to the idea. And then the last section is the Meadow Lakes Community Council membership voted unanimously with one abstention to submit these comments at the July 9, 2025 meeting. And it's signed by Secretary and myself. So that's our comments from the Meadow Lakes Community Council. I didn't know if there'd be any opportunity to add my own as well, but if not, is that okay or no?
Thank you.
Oh. What? No opportunity to add my own. Okay.
Anybody else? Whoa.
Sure.
What?
I would just like to say that he still has approximately 2 minutes and 10 seconds if you would like to continue.
You can keep, you have 2 minutes and 10 seconds left.
These comments are not the community council's comments. They're my own.
Oh, okay, all right.
That's what I'm talking about.
But
yeah.
you're still the president of the community council, so you get 5 minutes instead of 3, so.
Oh, okay.
All right.
Thank you. Yeah, so I dived into the document a little bit deeper than that. It was too hard to do in a public setting. And so I have individual concerns with the 20% of parcel that was added in there. And my reasoning for that is larger parcels such as my own. I've got hundreds, 1,500 feet of lake frontage. And so can I pave 20% of my lake frontage? I hope not. And so I think that 20% could stay, but it needs to have a maximum width for that boat ramp that's reasonable. So something like that would add that would help. I also have concerns about the if you do end up adopting the 45-foot with the mitigation. I've got a lot of concerns about that just becoming the new standard for where your house is, because lakefront property is very valuable, and 10, 15, 20,000 would be insignificant to hire this engineer to make these things so you could push your house right up to the lake and have all your neighbors behind you and have the best view. I would certainly think there's plenty of people that own lakefront property, purchase it, and are going to build a nice home, would spend that extra money to go ahead and push that up there. So I think it's a mistake to assume that only a handful of properties, newly construction, are going to be built at 75 feet. They're going to be built at 45, and they're going to just invest that extra money to do so and recoup that in their value. So those are my two main concerns. There's others, but I don't want to bore you with too many concepts at once. So thank you for listening.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah.
Anybody else?
Good evening. My name is Colleen Vague, Colleen, last name V like Victor, Ague. And I'm part of the North Lakes Community Council, and I agree with everything Rod said, but I'm here to speak on my own behalf. I happen to live in a house that has a designation as a legal non-conforming land use because my house is currently 52 feet back from a water body. When it was built before 1973, it was 55. And when we purchased the house in 2007, and this goes to some of your grandfathering rights, we had to prove to the bank, because we didn't have enough money to pay cash, that this was a legal non-conforming use. We had to get a letter from the Planning Commission, which meant we had to stand before the Planning Commission. We had to provide all kinds of information to prove that, in fact, the house was built not prior to this going in. It was difficult for us because after they built the house, it was actually a little cabin. They then moved into as a permanent residence, and they built a garage behind it that they were very proud of, and they put in the concrete in 1980. And so we were then in that whole, oh my gosh, really, you say it's 1973, but you've got proof here that it was 1980. We had to go through the whole purchasing. Fortunately, we were only the second purchasers of this house. We bought it from the builders. It's not a small process. It's a long, arduous process. Our realtors were involved, the title company was involved, the bank was involved. We knew we were non-conforming. People who purchase, unless they can pay cash under the table, know they're purchasing non-conforming land. So that we have 750 approximately people out there who have built improperly means that they have done so willfully. most of them have done so willfully. We currently have a self-reporting. That means your neighbors, somebody driving down the road, if the planning department happens to be driving by and sees a house is being built improperly, that's how things get reported. This borough is simply too large, our planning department is too small, and they're too overworked to go through and check every person who's building property. Driveways are a mess, and they're easier to see than land that might be offset on a road in a lake. So I think that this ordinance, I agree that there needs to be a way to bring non-conforming users into conformity, but I think that since they willfully made the choice to do that, there needs to be something that they need to do. They've built it to ask permission later. That's the Matsu Borough way. And I think that's a big problem. Although I don't want things when people purchase property on water, they do so to enjoy the water on the few nice days that we have. So I'd like to see something that makes it not prohibitive for people to build on land that's on water. I think that when I was on the planning commission, we did have people that came in for variances that we denied because there was buildable space on their property. So there are things in place. I think something needs to be done, but I certainly think that this might need to be tweaked a little bit before it is approved. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Anyone on the phone? Thank you. And speak. Seeing and hearing no other persons to speak, are there any objections to closing the public hearing? Hearing and seeing no objections, I now close the public hearing. And Mr. Strawn, would you like to respond to some of this?
If you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Well, I guess, go ahead.
I'm just saying there's a lot of good points.
Yeah, there is. They made a lot of great points. So, there's so many variables to all of this that, Mr. Scott.
Let's go back to mining, because that's really important. The state of Alaska and the borough is huge, and it encompasses a lot of mines. There wasn't much thought probably, because we're more looking at the core area, right? We're not really looking at the outer lying.
Yeah.
I mean, I didn't think about mining until it was brought up today. So that's important. These guys are exempt completely from this.
Yeah, through the chair to Commissioner Scoggin. I don't think there was discussion on mining, and I try to think of how this ordinance would affect mining operations. I suppose if you're doing heavy equipment operation within 75 feet of a water body, which I'm sure if you're mining and doing a dredging operation, you are indeed doing that.
They're in the water body. I mean, if they're placer mining at Petersville, they're in the water body. So
I understand that. Yeah. And I know that, like when we wrote regulations for mining in the water table, we did consider mining and we did a carve out for them. But that was not part of this discussion. We didn't go into that.
I think it's something we should probably address for sure. Just kind of a big thing.
I agree.
And it's easy to overlook too, right? Because we're kind of focused more on the lakes, but yeah. Okay.
Can I
go ahead. Yeah, go ahead.
Through the chair, this is Lacey Olivieri, the Planning Commission clerk. We did discuss docks, and when we talked to the attorneys, it was because they're on water that we didn't have the right to regulate that. So I don't know if that would be the same for mining. I believe that is regulated by the Army Corps of Engineers.
So, through the chair. So there was that discussion. So essentially, anything over the ordinary high water mark into the water body would not be regulated by the borough. Anything on land would be regulated by the borough. So certainly what they're doing in the river would not be actually regulated by the borough, but operating heavy machinery adjacent to a water body would be regulated under this ordinance. It would be. I understand.
Yeah, well, the Division of Mining would deal with that, whether it be state or,
Yeah. I agree.
yeah.
Yep.
Anybody else? None? Thank you. At this time, I'd like to entertain a motion for Resolution 25-10.
Commissioner McCabe, I'll move 25-10.
Thank you. Commissioner McCabe, a second.
Commissioner Scoggin will second, 25-10.
Commissioner Scoggins seconds it. Thank you. And is there any discussion? Lots of thought going on. No discussions?
I'm new. I'm sure, like. I think we got overwhelming input from at least the people that were here. Even the people that like it kind of want to, I don't know, like, kind of tweak it and make it better. I've lived in the valley my whole life. I'm 56, and it's like every time you think of code enforcement in your neighborhood and stuff, you're like, oh my God, that's going to affect me too. You know, but it comes to how do you enforce it? Because it seems like it always causes more problems because people are going to feel subjective. How come you come after me and all those people over there and that person up there and this over here, you're coming after me. It just tends to get a big, and with the amount of tweaks, and then how do you enforce this with the amount of water body that we have in the borough, the lakes, the streams, that's going to take more than one guy. So I kind of say maybe we just push this off, and I think they did a great job with it, but I think we got to come up with a little better maybe. I don't know. Instead of putting it in and then trying to tweak it or whatever, I think shaving off some sharp edges first. Just if we're discussing it, that's my 2 cents. Should I have said my name? Sorry.
Yeah.
Commissioner Carpenter.
Commissioner Carpenter. Yeah, we can't change the ordinance, but we can put recommendations into the ordinance. Into the resolution, I mean. Commissioner Scoggins.
So this isn't like the one last week where we can say no. Kind of push it off.
Mr. Strawn, turn your mic on.
I did want to point out that this resolution is not due to the assembly until August 20. So you could, if you wanted to continue it, you could, do some work in the background and push this to the next meeting.
What you're saying is we could get like a continuance on this thing and straighten some stuff out on it. And
if you so desire.
I feel that's what needs to happen.
Yeah, there's a lot of hard dollar things like the double wall fuel tanks. I know for a fact those are it's not a dead end deal for guys, right? I mean, $10,000 fuel tank versus $500 fuel tank, and yeah, in the mining, I think that I'm thinking mining's not the only thing we're missing here, right? Because we are kind of focused on something, and then I think I don't know, Alex, that maybe you could speak to it a little bit, but the remote properties, I just don't know how well we address those. And like when we visualize the compliance guy, he's in a boat on Big Lake, right? Because there's a lot of houses, but when you look at a map, there's a heck of a lot of lakes out there. It's not very feasible. Is there any, like the 700 and some houses? I wonder, you guys, has there ever been like a letter drafted to say, hey, let's try to sort this out? Or is that like a no, that didn't work, or so you've tried something like that at all?
The chair.
Yep.
So we have not sent a letter out to all those properties. if there's ever a directive from the assembly that they wanted to start hitting all these setback violations hard, then we would do that. Generally, when we enter into an enforcement situation, we're looking for a remedy. And to be frank, telling somebody they need to tear down or move their house is a tall order. Yeah.
Let me, I guess that's not where I'm going with this at all. It's just out of that 750, that's imagery you're looking at. Maybe half of those houses are compliant. They just need to be grandfathered in and recorded, I guess. That's my question, I think, more. I'm not trying to burn anybody's house down or move it by any stretch of imagination. I'm just seeing maybe some of them are compliant, I guess. I guess that would be a place to start, see who's legal and not.
Yeah. So through the chair. So I agree that 750 number does need to be taken with a grain of salt. So we did use year built. So if the year built was prior to May of 1987, then we assume that it was built prior to that time. The year built is based on our assessments data. However, there are times where there's more than one structure on a piece of property, and we only have one data field for year built. So we don't know which structure is actually built, say if it was 1979, we don't know which of those structures was built in 1979. We don't know if all those structures are habitable. There's a lot of things that can make that number wrong. We just wanted to get a ballpark, and that was the ballpark number we came up with.
You're essentially going up the roof, right? You're looking at a roof, right? From a Google type image.
Well, so the LiDAR data, which is high resolution topographical data, one of the deliverables we can get from the LiDAR data is a building footprint. And it is, they're using laser beams to bounce off the ground and tell you where things are at. And apparently, if you're looking at a footprint of a house from the LiDAR data, it's more accurate than the imagery you're looking at when you're looking at just regular old imagery. It's apparently fairly accurate.
So the 750 that you were looking at is basically in the core area here on the road system.
Correct.
Because there are thousands of places out. Of course, I'm over the top of it every day. So
yeah. If you're talking homes on recreational rivers out in the boondocks, we really don't have a good assessment of those,
right.
And nor do we have a lot of enforcement.
Thank you.
Chair, I want to call the question.
Call the question.
Yes. Vote up or down on the resolution.
Any objection? Are there any objections to approving the resolution 25-10 as written?
Any objection to calling the question?
Any objection to calling the question? No objections? Mr. Collins?
No.
Thank you.
Now you vote.
What?
Now you vote on the motion.
Now we need to vote on the motion. So is there an objection to passing resolution 25-10? And it's just a roll call vote, or are we just voting?
I'll do roll call because we have one on the phone.
Yep. So let's say.
So yes would be you approve the resolution. No would be you do not.
Say again.
Yes would be you approve the resolution. No would be you do not. Commissioner Carpenter?
No.
Commissioner Collins?
No.
Commissioner McCabe?
No.
Commissioner Scoggin?
No.
Commissioner Glenn?
No.
The resolution has failed unanimously.
Thank you. Now? Okay, and yeah, we need to send something up to the assembly, so. Something in regard to tightening this thing up, taking off some sharp edges, so.
How can we delay this further for, just to give us some more time to work on this?
You failed.
Just,
We failed it,
You failed it,
so now we can't delay it.
and we can't amend it.
So now we need to,
Mr. Chair.
Mr.
This is Alex
Strawn.
Strawn. Yeah. I did want to, I think it would be good to pass something to the assembly. I understand that hasn't always been done. If you wanted to prepare, if you wanted to have staff help you prepare something, we could do that. Potentially introduce it at the next meeting. It wouldn't get to the assembly to be in their packet, but it would get to them before their meeting in September. It's the second meeting in September. So that's an option. Otherwise, you can come up with something on the floor or just be silent on the matter. It's up to you.
So we failed it, but that doesn't mean it can't, like, I believe it's a good footprint to start with. So it's not like we just threw it out and they can't re-look at it, right? Or, okay. Yeah.
Mr. Strawn.
This is Alex Strawn again. So, so I prepared a kind of a stock resolution that said, yes, we support this and here's why. That has failed. So if you want to send something to the assembly, you sure can use a similar resolution as a starting point, an amendment, however you like, or just start from scratch, however you want to go about it.
I agree with Commissioner Scoggins. I think there's a lot of issues that, like we said, I don't think people sat down and said, okay, mining. We didn't look at like Lake Louise alone could be how many out of compliance right there. Boom. Like, and I don't think, like, hearing the testimony, I think there's a lot of people, you finally made it and you got your cabin way out there on Lake Louise, or name your lake way out there. You just build. So it's like, it's the borough. It's not like there was, hey, you got to be this far back. And I just built my cabin out there. Then I'm going to retire and I'll build something on it. So as many people probably, I agree with you, built it to just say, I'm sorry and ask permission later kind of thing. I think there were some people that just made a mistake and just build. But there's a lot that didn't get thought about when, and I'm not critiquing, well, I guess we are critiquing it, but I think it was decent, but there was a lot that needed to be thought about that you don't necessarily, it's not right there in the forefront of your mind. Like, and mining is a big one. Huge one, especially in the borough here. So maybe it was good that we said no and we could start over. But so I'm fairly new, but what do we do? We just write something up and say, hey, assembly, start over. Pah.
Well, we don't need to completely start over again. I mean, we just need to tune up some stuff on it.
Yep.
So
some issues were brought to our attention, even by the people. And that's the crazy thing, is that a lot of people that liked it still said, hey, shave this off, change this, fix that, which I think is good. And I think it's important that people showed up and talked it. It's good.
does that need to happen at this meeting is the question, I guess.
So there
Through the chair, this is Michael Collins. No, I agree with I apologize for not being present today. But I mean, I would say there's a good majority support of what's going on here with, again, fine tuning this more specifically to as we possibly can. It sounds like we're trying to unring the bell, for the last, 40 some odd years of perhaps maybe lack of oversight or what have you. So perhaps we have, a great investment that came into this resolution as a baseline. and looking into the mining side of things, and looking at to some of these maybe not so permanent structures or temporary structures, and this 25-foot easement, and you know, something that maybe not even was brought to consideration was animals, you know, and shelters and things like that that may be within that 45-foot variance here. So I think, you know, if we can come together at some point and create some type of an amendment or recommendations to the assembly to guide them to what we're hearing from the public, what we're reading, and being more proactive with the assembly in that regard, I think would be paramount in this particular situation.
Thank you, Mr. Collins. Alex.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I mean, I think Mr. Carpenter's question, a couple of different options you could look at. First of all, the vote was unanimous, so you're all on the prevailing side, and anyone can actually request reconsideration if you want to bring this resolution back from the dead and tweak it or postpone it. Otherwise, you can request that a new resolution be formed, and we certainly could help you with that.
Chair?
Yeah.
I'd like to make a motion that we write a resolution to tell the assembly that there are a lot of provisions in this that we might be able to get behind, but there was no way that we could rewrite it ourselves here in the commission to make it acceptable. We just don't have the skill sets to write all that information that needs to be in there. And what I heard overwhelmingly from the Big Lake Community Council and the people present at our meeting is that they didn't like it as it is. So if anything needs to be done with water body setbacks, it needs to be tweaked quite a bit. Thank you.
So somebody could make a motion to reconsider, and then we can amend it.
I already made a motion that we write our own resolution, so we have to vote on that.
We'll need a second on that if that's...
I feel like a little bit of discussion on our part before we just keep batting this back and forth. We better kind of slow down here a minute and figure out make sure we are clear with what you're asking, Lynn.
I was just suggesting that we do a resolution to the assembly in our own words, saying that while we support a lot of the provisions in 2510, we didn't support it in whole, so we couldn't pass it. And we recommend that they maybe find a team of people that can address some of the issues that were brought forward by the public during our testimony, and maybe some of the issues that they will likely encounter when they hear it later in the month.
I like the idea of, you said voting to, I guess it would be reconsider, right? To bring it, make it available and send it to assembly, just outlining some of the changes that needed to be. Like, there's nothing on mining. There's
No. We need to, no. So basically what you're saying is we need to send it back to the water body setback group and have them tweak some stuff on it and then send it up again? Is that what you're saying?
Yes, I think that there's a substantial enough amount of things that need to be addressed in the water body setback proposal that we can't, as a commission, we're not experienced enough to know what things and how to word it. And so it needs to go before a group of people that have more time to spend on it than we do.
And I would agree with that, Alex. So tell us how to get there. I'm new at this, so.
So the Water Body Setback Advisory Board is expired. And
It's what?
They're expired.
They're expired.
They no longer exist as a board.
So how do we go about tweaking this thing? We have to do it ourselves?
So
We
yeah,
are the
that's-
board now.
Yeah. I think ideally, the commissioners would become sort of independently familiar with the ordinance and come up with your own suggestions. It doesn't have to be super detailed. It can be broad. It can say, we generally support this, but we want these changes, or we generally don't support this, but we like these things about it, or however you want to do it. But I think that would be the type of review that the assembly would be hoping for.
Through the chair, this is a lot. And mining being such a big one that was brought up tonight that wasn't addressed at all. I just can't move forward because what else is out there? Because this board focused on just houses on the lake, and the setback. I think we're opening ourselves up for a lot of problems here. I mean, yeah, I think there's a lot of unanswered questions for sure. I'm not even really sure why we have a 75-foot setback restriction right now. I mean, we have roads and bridges over top of all waterways right now. What's wrong with having a home within 45 feet? And why would you spend $20,000 or whatever the number is, have an engineer come out through your property? The engineers in the valley are swamped with the work they got now. I don't know who these engineers are. They're gonna do this, right? I mean, I know I try to get engineers for stuff all the time, and it's hard to get them. So, yeah, I think there's just too much here to try to amend it here in the next few hours. There's a lot missed. I really don't know where to go with this at this point, but we don't want to create a bigger mess, right?
Yeah, we want this thing to be correct and helpful to everybody and work functionally and be reasonable, and we could create a monster here by just rubber stamping this thing, but this group isn't going to do that. So we need to go back to the drawing board here, and whether a couple of us come in and sit down with you and just go through and fine tune this thing. But I don't see us making a decision on this tonight by any means. Am I wrong? Commissioner McCabe?
So we're discussing my motion, which is to send it back to the assembly, and maybe what I need to do is amend that motion to say to establish a new task force, or I just see too many issues with it for us to address it. I have big concerns about enforcement. How are we going to pay for somebody to go out and enforce all of those rules on lakes that are, inside the borough, but they're far and far away? Are we going to use drones? I mean, what's it going to cost to enforce something like this? This is a huge undertaking. It's a big, huge change to what we currently do, and I think that there are some things we could do to address the grandfathering and the plans for going forward without so much extra stuff in there. So. You want me to amend the motion to say that we send it back to the assembly and have them possibly recommend to them? We can't tell them what to do, and we can't fix it. It's not our say is not final. The assembly has the final say. They can still pass it if they want to, even though we may recommend, or they see that we failed it, maybe they won't pass it, but we can recommend that they assign a new task force to address the issues that were brought forward during the Planning Commission hearing and those that will be likely brought forward during the assembly hearing that will ensue once it hits the assembly.
Is there a second?
Commissioner Scoggins will second. Motion.
Commissioner McCabe made the motion. Commissioner Scoggins seconded it. All those in favor? Aye.
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 Thank you. Mr. Strawn.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So I think I understand that the motion was to create a new resolution, and what we can do is we can take a stab at it and bring a resolution back under unfinished business, essentially, at the next meeting for you to consider. We will listen to the audio recording. We will likely contact the maker of the motion and develop a resolution that we can put on for consideration at the next meeting. Does that sound reasonable?
It does, yes.
Very good.
Do I gavel?
Is there any objection to? Already did that. You already voted aye.
Yep.
So we're on to the next.
On to correspondence? Yep.
Yep.
Okay, we're moving on to correspondence. There is none. Unfinished business, none. New business, none. Commission business, elections for chair. Do any commissioners have a nomination for chair? And I sure do.
I'll nominate you for
No,
chair.
No. I nominate Rick Allen.
I'll second that.
Second, Rick's. All those in favor? No, Rick will be fantastic. He's a professional at this, and I am definitely not, so.
Be happy.
You guys will be happy. So, Rick Allen is our chair. Mr. Carpenter, can we vote on this? All those in, yes, we are doing it, yeah. This is-
Okay, we're gonna do a vote. Commissioner Carpenter,
Yes.
Commissioner Collins,
Yes.
Commissioner McCabe,
Yes.
Commissioner Scoggin,
Yes.
Commissioner Glenn,
Yes,
and that has
you're lucky it
passed,
wasn't you,
and
Mr. Carpenter.
Commissioner Allen is the new chair.
Yeah. All right. Do we have to vote on that?
No.
No, we don't. Upcoming Planning Commission agenda items. Do any commissioners have any questions about the future agenda items provided in your folder? Hearing and seeing none. You guys happy? How about we're to director and commissioner comments? Commissioner Scoggins.
My comment, that was a little bit messy, but it's better than pushing it forward. I think we got hung up there a little bit, but I would rather stop than just push something forward to get it off our plate. I think we did the right thing on the water body setback. It's my only comment.
Thank you. Commissioner McCabe.
I agree with Commissioner Scoggin that it was messy and it was necessary. And I thank you, Mr. Strawn, for all your effort in that water body setback committee. And I hope that if there's another group assembled, that you will help them jump through over all the hurdles they will encounter. Thank you.
Commissioner Carpenter.
I would agree. I'm kind of glad that we had the audience participation that we did. I gave a lot of good feedback, I think, and helped us through it. As messy as it was, I think it's like walking through a swamp. Sometimes you got to do it, and we made it through on the other side, and I think it'll be okay. I'm kind of happy with what happened tonight.
Thank you, sir. Commissioner Collins.
Thank you for this. Yeah, I agree. You know, sometimes we got to get our hands a little dirty here and not just read through things and pass things along. You know, the public participation, the comments, the letters being submitted, the borough committees and coming together and putting time and effort into this. And Mr. Strawn, thank you for everything you have done with this and as well as guiding us through some of this judicial process here or just process in general. I think there's a lot of things that, were kind of uncovered and some more detail is needed with this. But yeah, I greatly appreciate everyone's effort with this and transparency of looking for guidance in this, because we definitely don't want to put something forward that's only just going to cause, duress later or issues later that we can't undo. So let's be as transparent and as efficient as possible as a board, and I'm proud to be a part of this. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Long.
Yeah, thank you. I just wanted to commend the Water Body Setback Advisory Board and Director Strawn and Ms. Oliveri for these are volunteer efforts of professionals and community engagement. They dedicated lots of time for many months. It's commendable. It's inspiring. At the same time, when there's legislative matters, I would just remind the community and the board or the commission members here that it's an open door of communication throughout the whole process. So you're never restricted with, and the community members are never restricted with contacting commissioners about their ideas or their concerns, so that there's this ongoing dialogue. So, it can come up to the commission and be some sort of hashed out discussion, which is very important and democratic for sure. But maybe a lot of questions and ideas can already be generated or answered along the way. And so just like for the resolution that's about to be prepared for the assembly, there's going to be this open communication with the director and his staff to get it lined out to present to the assembly. But even for like the next commission meeting, when we do hear have a public hearing on 2514, that hopefully along the way the community and the commissioners have this open dialogue so that could be more streamlined and there's no surprises. There'll probably always be an opportunity to hash things out, which is very meaningful, but it should be welcome. It's very different than quasi-judicial matters where you're determining a permit and don't want to show bias or anything. But legislative affairs are really like a telephone conversation that should go on until there's a meeting of the mind. So I would just welcome that. It's been inspiring to be part of the process and witness this, and especially for the Water Body Setback Advisory Board work. So thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Long. Yeah, appreciate all your work, Alex. This is a ton of work. I know that, and just getting this thing together is mind-boggling. This has been we've been on this for 2 years at least now since I've been here, and we'll get it. And it's important that we get all the sharp edges taken off of this thing and make it look right and make it work for the people, because that's what this needs to do. So, and there's definitely some stuff missing in this paper, and we'll get that squared away. I'd like to thank Lacey for keeping me squared away here. So, which is difficult, as my wife would tell you, and the whole staff here. I appreciate all of you. And with that, I close the meeting out at 7:43.
The conference has ended. You will now be disconnected. Goodbye.